Your AI agent should not be thinking 24/7. Mine doesn't. It sits there asleep, on Do Not Disturb, and only wakes up when something is actually worth the money. And once it runs that way, you can hand it the boring half of your business and basically forget it exists. If you've used something like OpenClaw, you've seen agents like this before. Same idea. But this one, Hermes, has a few extra features bolted on that the others never had. And those features are the entire reason it can do what I'm about to show you. So here's the deal. I gave one agent 6 different jobs: my bill, my reviews, my uptime, my leads, my competitors, my content. And it runs all of them on autopilot. Let's go through them. First thing that changed, Hermes now has a proper desktop app, basically a wrapper around the whole agent setup. I used to run all of this from the terminal. The app just makes it way easier to actually watch the agent's work and change the configs without memorizing commands. The part that sold me was profiles. A profile is its own separate Hermes agent, its own memory, its own skills, so your work persona never bleeds into your personal one. They stay completely isolated. And on the desktop app, you can run several of them at once. One profile for work, one for a client, one for personal. All live, all in parallel, and you just hand each one its own tasks. Setup is nothing. Download the installer for whatever system you're on, run it, done. Then everything else, your model, your tools, your skills, even a memory cap that budgets how much each profile is allowed to remember. All of it lives in the settings pane. Okay, now the feature that unlocks everything. It's called Wake Agent. Think of your phone on Do Not Disturb. It stays quiet, but it still buzzes for the one call that matters. Wake Agent is a flag in the cron job that decides, while it's running, whether the agent even needs the model. If the flag comes back false, the LLM never gets called, which means every scheduled job gets a free gatekeeper, deciding whether spending tokens is even worth it in the first place. You only pay when something actually changed. OpenClaw couldn't do this. It fired the agent on every single cron run, whether there was anything to do or not. Use case 1. Watching your own cloud bill. You set up a little group of cron jobs with skills that monitor your AWS costs and, say, the Gemini API you're burning on a project.
If those costs climb higher than usual, it drops a report in whatever channel you point it at. And if you don't want it to just tell you, wire in the Stripe MCP and let it take action. The whole thing only ever wakes up when there's a real spike. No spike, no tokens, no cost. Use case 2. Your App Store reviews. Connect the Google Play API, give it a cron job, and let that same Wake Agent flag watch the reviews come in. But it doesn't just auto-reply to the 1-star ratings. It reports them into Slack, pulls out what people are actually complaining about, and sends you a real read on how your users feel, so you know exactly what to fix next. Now there's a second flag worth knowing, and it's the opposite extreme. It's called No Agent. This one gets the job done without ever touching the model at all. And yeah, if there's no AI in the loop, you might think that's just a normal cron job. It is. Except it runs inside Hermes, which already has all the context about how you work. So it's far easier to stand up than wiring the same thing somewhere else. And the best part? These jobs are basically free, because there's no agent burning tokens behind them. You give Hermes one prompt, it pulls the skills it needs, and builds the whole automation for you. So use case 3, health checks. I keep a no-agent cron watching the stuff that quietly breaks a business. The TLS cert, the nightly backup, Stripe's webhook, the disk filling up, whether the login page is even loading. Every run, it posts a clean health check straight into Slack. All systems green, or here's what's red. And the second something's actually wrong, you just tag Hermes in the chat, tell it to fix it, and it picks up right where the alert left off, with all that context intact. Use case 4 is the big one, running Hermes as the second brain of your whole company. You connect the bot to your Slack workspace and let every single person on the team talk to it directly. And because of that evolving memory and skill system, it's quietly watching the day-to-day, turning the things you repeat into reusable workflows and gathering so much context that, honestly, it ends up knowing the company better than anyone in it. All of that context becomes one company skill, and now Hermes is the hub. Anyone can ask it where a project stands. Your project manager can have it track goals and even assign and chase tasks against them because it already knows the progress.
And it holds up over months because it can edit its own memory as it goes. An agent like OpenClaw can't. Its memory file just bloats until it loses the plot, and you're stuck wiping it clean to keep it useful. Use case 5. Actually acting on your behalf. Same memory, same skills. Except now, if you're feeling lazy, you can let it answer your leads for you, using everything it's learned about the business. Hermes ships with skills for Google Workspace, so first you connect it to Gmail. You spin up a project in Google Cloud, grab the credentials, drop in the callback token. It's a long setup, but it's just simple steps. And now it can read, send, and reply to email. Then you create a webhook. A webhook is just one app tapping another on the shoulder when something happens. Hermes builds one that watches your inbox and, using that company skill it maintains, figures out which emails are actually potential customers. So when a real lead lands, it writes back using everything it knows about your company in your voice. And if a meeting makes sense, it'll even drop it on your calendar in an open slot, without you touching a thing. Use case 5.5, because it reuses all of this. You can keep your product spec, your PRD, as a skill instead of a plain document. The difference matters. A skill only loads when it's needed, so it stays in the fresh part of the context window, where the model is actually paying attention. And since that skill already knows your product cold, you point a weekly cron at your competitors. It studies what they're shipping, updates your PRD with features worth stealing, and keeps a running log of how each rival is moving. So you're acting on what they did, not finding out months later. Last one, your social media. There's a skill called XURL that posts straight to X, and we lean on it constantly, because we're always turning one piece of content into another. The move. Hand Hermes a long-form video script, and because it already knows our voice, it writes both the X post and the LinkedIn version, and drops them into a folder instead of posting. We keep a human in the loop because there's always a tweak to make. You load the skill with a / command, hand it the script, and it drafts both, respecting the character limit on X, then waits. Once we've checked them, we just tell Hermes to post, and it fires the skill and ships it. So that's 6 jobs: your bill, your reviews, your uptime, your team's brain, your leads, your content, all running on one agent that only spends a cent when it's genuinely worth it. So I'm curious, which one of these would you wire up first? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this was useful, do me a favor, hit like and follow for more agent builds like this one.